foxbody Mustang. In this case, it's an 88 Mustang GT with a 5.0 HO engine. Common issues with these cars is they may slightly overheat in traffic or hot conditions. Summertime, AC's on, it may run a little warmer than normal. Now with this particular car, the timing has been advanced and it does have some mods on the engine, headers, bigger throttle body, a cold air intake, gears, and some other mods to the ignition system and such. So what we're going to do is we're going to change the stock style 195 thermostat to a little bit of a lower, cooler one at 180 degrees. Now there's a little bit of debate if you should go to 180 or 160. In our opinion, the 180 is kind of the great compromise. It kind of lets the car warm up to a normal operating temperature in a nice time, and it also provides a decent amount of heat in the wintertime. Now you can go a little bit colder, but usually a 160 is for a more radical engine, or an engine that's basically going to be only used during very severe heat, track days, or is basically just a weekend warrior for you and you don't really care about things like the heat not really coming up to temp real quick, and you don't really drive your car much, if at all, in the wintertime. So we're going to go over step by step on what this is to install a 180 thermostat in your foxbody Mustang with the 5.0. So what we got here is we got a replacement thermostat from Superstat. It's a 180. The part number is 54358. Part number will be in the description. Also, we picked up a gasket for it, which you're going to need, and it's a FEL-PRO one, very good company, high quality part. In this case, it's a 35440 part number. Very easy to install this, guys, so I'm going to take you step by step through the process. Alright, one of the first things I like to do is going to grab the drain pan and place it under the car. You may have some leaking coolant, so just try to place that in the general area where you think the coolant may leak. After you remove the top radiator hose, the thermostat housing, and the bypass hose. First thing I like to do is just come over here and we'll take off the top radiator hose with the simple just clamp that you have here. Just give it a couple of twists. Pull that out. Give it a pull. Yep, and here's the coolant leaking out. Now, after you do a job like this, you're going to have to replenish any missing coolant, and you're also going to have to bleed the system again. So you're going to have to take your radiator cap off, let the car run up to operating temperature with the heat on. Make sure you don't have any air pockets left in the system so you don't create an overheating situation that you may have not had before. Alright, the next thing I like to do is come over here. Is take the bypass hose off, but you can unscrew the bottom here. Alright, what I like to do is take a pair of hose pliers, if you have them, and try to grab the hose, give it a nice little twist, and just kind of break it free. Do that for both sides if you can. Take your flathead again, just come from the opposite end. Loosen it up. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to pull the hose clamp back out a little bit. To get access to the top bolt. In this case, the bolts here are a 1/2 inch. So take a 1/2 inch wrench and just crack them free. Fortunately, they're kind of in a difficult spot. Okay, after you have uninstalled the thermostat housing and remove the clamps, the bolts, and the thermostat from the block. Clean all those parts thoroughly. I like to use a wire brush. You could use a scraper, you could use a razor blade, but get those parts as clean as you possibly can without gouging them. Do not gouge into the parts with an abrasive disc or a flap disc or sandpaper or anything of that nature. That'll leave gouges in there and it'll make it very difficult for the thermostat housing to seal on the top of the intake manifold. So in our case, we cleaned the parts off. We applied a small coating of PERMATEX on both the thermostat outlet housing and the top of the intake manifold. So after that's complete, we now have a new gasket and have a new 180 thermostat. The spring end of the thermostat goes inside the top of the intake manifold, and the portion that sticks out with this little tip goes towards the inside of the water outlet. Okay, what I like to do is place the thermostat with the spring end out inside the water outlet, and then place the gasket on top of that. Just press it down slightly. You don't have to go crazy. What we also did is we cleaned the bolts with a wire wheel and applied a small coating of thread sealant on both bolts to mitigate any water leakage that may occur from weeping through the bolt holes. Alright, so after you have that sort of together, gently place it back inside at the top of the intake manifold. The longer the two bolts goes towards the top, and then you can kind of get it lined up with your finger. Take your ratchet, try to start that bolt. This may be a little difficult to sort of get lined up at first. You may have to reposition the gasket once or twice to sort of get it to line up. To get the top one started, just grab the bottom bolt, do the same. Again, you may have to slightly just move it around, get it to line up. There's not a lot of access here. It almost runs into the top of the water pump. What you can do if you got difficulty lining up is take a small punch, pick, and sort of line up a bolt hole. So after you get it started, I like to grab my ratchet again, the extension, a 1/2-inch socket, and just sort of snug down the top one. Don't go crazy, you're not looking to kill it. Just snug it up a little bit. And go back to the bottom one. Take your 1/2-inch wrench, give it some turns. It's going to take a couple of minutes. There's really not a lot of access here. I like to try to hand screw it in as far as I can. That's why it's crucial to clean the threads of these two bolts so it's a little bit easier. They kind of gum up with just corrosion and oxidation over the years. So make that job really difficult for you if you don't clean those bolts off. There is enough room to sort of get a wrench in there, an open-ended wrench, and just twist it. Now Ford has a torque spec for these. You can look in the manual for it, but it's going to be difficult, if not impossible, to get a torque wrench on this bottom bolt. Generally what I like to do is make this snug. You're not looking to kill it, you're not looking to crush the hell out of it, just make it snug. If need be, you can always come back and just give it a slight tweak afterwards if it happens to leak. Generally speaking, if you have PERMATEX and new gasket on there and the surfaces have been cleaned, you should not have any leaks occurring. Alright, so I got that one fairly snug, and I'm going to come back to the top one again and just tighten it down, making it snug. Now you might have better luck with a stubby wrench or an offset wrench than a typical open end. Yeah, that's snug. We're going to leave that alone. Next thing I like to do is tighten the top bypass hose. Now what I did is I put a little bit of grease on the inlet just to help this hose slide back on. Really kind of got to bend the heck out of it to make it line up. Make sure you don't catch the lip on it. May take a couple of minutes. I'm going to try something here a little bit different. Let's see if we get the bottom part of it to come off. Alright, so we removed it completely from the water pump and the top of the inlet. Place the top end in first. May have some better luck with this. And then we'll see if we can get the bottom to go back onto the water pump. We're going to place a little bit of grease here on the top of the water pump inlet and the intake inlet, just to ease the hose back on. This also would be a good time to replace this hose if you have one. I'm going to try this again. Alright, I got it, finally. Alright. Make sure you line up your hose clamps in a way that you can access them. You may have better luck with various sizes of flatheads or a small ratchet and socket to get access to these hose clamps and tighten them. This may take a couple of minutes to tighten these clamps down. It's just awkward. These clamps are older, so they're giving me a little bit of a fight. After the bypass hose is snugged down, grab the top of your radiator hose, place it on top of the water inlet. Again, take your flathead screwdriver in this case and tighten this hose back down. That's nice and snug. Take the wiring harness, plug it back into your distributor. You hear it click, it's nice and tight. A 180 thermostat is a very popular upgrade for the Ford 5.0 Mustang. It'll allow you to do many things with your Mustang, one of those things being increase your ignition timing to get a little more performance, a little better throttle response out of your 5.0. Another cheap, easy upgrade that anyone can do, just grab yourself a timing light, bump up the ignition a few more degrees. Obviously check out for detonation, for ping, for knocking. Back it off a couple of degrees if necessary. Now when you do a mod like ignition timing, You will have to run a premium gas. Lucky for us here in New York, we can run 93. I know some parts of the United States you only get 91, which is unfortunate. Or your other option is obviously race gas. Maybe on the track, but for everyday use, that would become a very expensive proposition. Now, I hope this gives you a little bit more of that performance edge you want out of your 5.0. It's one of the most popular hot rodding engines around, especially the foxbody Mustangs. They're extremely popular. They're extremely easy to get your hands on. They made them from 79 to 93, so chances are any ad that you see in your local area, Craigslist, Car Trader, you'll find a foxbody within your budget. I'm Kevin here from Ford Performance. Thank you.